Hello students, as in previous class we are discussing about the Henry Fayol principles of management. As already in previous session I have discussed about the 5 principles among the 14 principles which are introduced by Henry Fayol. So Henry Fayol is referred as father of general management. In his working life, he has been faced many of the problems and many kinds of situations, and therefore his experience has leads to the 14 principles which are given by the Henry Fayol. So let's continue the session. As in previous class, the fourth and fifth principle given by Henry Fayol, that is unity of command and unity of direction. So as you know, unity of command means there should be one superior for one individual subordinate or one individual worker or one individual group of workers in the organization, whereas unity of direction leads to there should be one head and there should be one plan for achieving entire organizational goals which are similar in nature. All those are grouped under one head, under one plan to achieve the organizational objectives. Therefore, so literally there are some differences which can be find out by comparing unity of command and unity of direction principle. So let's see what are the difference between unity of command and unity of direction. The main heading is difference between unity of command and unity of direction. So there are mainly 4 difference that we can able to observe when we are comparing the unity of direction and the unity of command. So the first difference of unity of command and unity of direction on the basis of meaning. So on the basis of meaning, as you know, the meaning says unity of command means there should be one superior for one group of worker or one individual subordinate, and they must receive working orders from only one superior, and they need to achieve the work given by the immediate manager or immediate officer. So that is called unity of command. So but unity of direction meaning is there should be one head and one plan. So where all the kinds of organizational objective which are similar in nature, all those objectives are to be grouped under one head and one plan. So that is called unity of direction. So this is about the first difference on the basis of meaning. So keep remember, on the basis of meaning there should be one superior for one group of workers or one individual subordinate. They must receive orders from only one superior and they need to report to the immediate superior. So whereas unity of direction, there should be one head and one plan, and all the objectives are to be achieved which are similar in nature, all those to be grouped under one head and one plan. So that is called unity of direction. So then second difference is advantage, that is what is the benefit of using these 2 principles in the organization means the first advantage of unity of command is where it avoids conflicts and where it avoids confusions, where in unity of command there will be one superior, and one superior is going to guide the group of workers like A, B, C, D, and they are going to receive the working order from only one superior, where they are going to responsible for only one head. So where it avoids performing the work, or where it avoids the confusions in performing the duties and avoids the conflict between superior and subordinates. So that is why where it avoids conflicts and confusions in doing the work. So this is the advantage of unity of command. So then unity of direction. What is the main use of unity of direction? Means it avoids duplication of work or duplication of efforts and wastage of resources. What it does, unity of direction does grouping of the activities which are similar in nature. So by grouping all the activities which are similar in nature, it avoids the duplication of efforts and where it help in avoiding the wastage of resources in the organization. That is why by using unity of direction we can avoid the duplication, that is repetition of the work, and wastage of resources can be minimized. So this is the advantage or benefit of the principle, that is unity of direction. So this is the second difference between unity of command and unity of direction. So let's see the third difference. Then the third difference between unity of command and unity of direction is on the basis of result, that is on the basis of final outcome. The final result of unity of command principle leads to the better, superior and the subordinator relationship. So here subordinators are nothing but the workers or the employees who are working under the superiors. So that is why where the final outcome of unity of command principle is to create the good relationship between the superior and the subordinators in the organization. So that is the main objective and the main purpose of unity of command. So that is why the third difference on the basis of result, the unity of command principle is going to leads to the better superior and subordinator relationship in the enterprise. This is the unity of command. The next, unity of direction. Its final result is to ensure the smooth working of the enterprise. So where by creating or where by grouping the activities which are similar in nature under one superior, we are avoiding duplication of efforts and we are minimizing wastage of resources. That is going to lead smooth working of the total enterprise. That is the main result of the unity of direction. So that is why the unity of direction resulting in ensuring smooth working of the business enterprise. This is about the third difference on the basis of result. Then last but not least, on the basis of nature. So how it will be? That is unity of command and unity of direction. So what are the main difference in that? So on the basis of nature, the first unity of command is particularly related to functioning of personnel. So functioning of personnel is nothing but a proper working of the workers or subordinators or even employees of the organization. So that is the nature of the unity of command. So that is why the unity of command is particularly related to the effective functioning of the personnels. Personnels which may include all the human resource, that is employees or workers or any kind of the peoples who are working in the organization. It ensures the smooth of working of the enterprise. This is on the basis of nature in unity of command. So in unity of direction, what's the nature of unity of direction means? It is related to functioning of the department and functioning of the entire organization. So that is the nature of unity of direction. So where under one head and under one plan all the activities are grouped and similar objectives are to be grouped under one head, they are going to fulfill one plan means where it ensures the smooth functioning of department and the entire organization. It would be the nature of unity of direction. So this is all about the difference between unity of command and unity of direction. So why? Because the difference, these two meanings and these two words are looks like a similar, but when we go through in detail study, then only we can able to find out what are the major difference between unity of command and unity of direction. So this is all about the major difference between unity of command and unity of direction principle. So these two principles are also given by Henry Fayol. The next principle which is given by Henry Fayol, that is subordination of individual interest to general interest. So here there are two words are important: subordination of individual interest to the overall interest of the organization. So where as per this principle states that the interest of an organization take a priority over the employee's interest, where the manager or the superior of an organization must take all the actions and must take all the decisions to satisfy the interest of the subordinators who are working in the enterprise. As a manager, if you are satisfied all the needs, wants and desires of your personnel or of your workers, then automatically the workers, they are going to work even more in the organization. When the workers are working more in the organization, then automatically their efforts will be contributed towards achieving organizational objectives. That is why there should be an relativity between the entire organizational interest as well as individual interest of the workers. That is why as per this principle, the interest of the organization take priority over the interest of the employees. That is why as a manager, first you need to identify the needs, wants and desires of the employees. You need to identify why the people are working in the enterprise. You need to satisfy their needs. When you satisfied their needs, then automatically the employee get more interest and he will going to work more enthusiastically in relation to achieving organizational objectives. That is why you must take care of the employees. You must take all the actions and decisions which are going to related to the satisfaction of individual needs and desires. When the individual needs are satisfied, automatically they will going to work more and more in the organization. When the people are working more in the organization, automatically within the span of time we can able to achieve the entire organizational goals and objectives. This is about the sixth principle which is given by Henry Fayol, that is subordination of individual interest to the general interest. Then seventh principle which is given by Henry Fayol, that is remuneration of employees. Here remuneration means compensation or providing salary or wages to the employees. Each and every people, they are working in the enterprise to earn money. So why they are working in the organization means to earn money. So why they need money? To satisfy the needs and wants. So that is why the company must provide a proper rate of wages or salaries to the employees as well as workers, and they must provide compensation to all the workers in the organization. So that is why the manager and the management must take the proper decisions in relation to providing salary, wages or compensation to the employees of the organization. So that is why the remuneration is called the vitamin of the organization. So why? Because each and everyone needs money. So why money is needed? To satisfy the basic needs and wants. That is why the company must provide a proper rate of wages, salaries and bonus and all the kinds of financial and non-financial incentives. Then only employee get motivated, employee get inspired, and they will go to work more even in the organization. So that is why the seventh principle states that remuneration of employees, the management prepare a fair and good remuneration policy which is to be satisfies the humans needs and wants. That is why the remuneration of employee principle states that company must decide and must pay proper rate of wages and salaries and compensation to the employees that should be fair and basis of the work given by the management. So this is about the seventh principle which is given by Henry Fayol, that is remuneration. So which is completely relating to providing salary, wages, bonus, financial and non-financial incentives which are going to inspire the workers to work more in the enterprise. This is about the seventh principle. Then eighth principle is centralization and decentralization. Centralization means holding and decentralization means where dispersal of decision making. So here the centralization and decentralization. So first I will going to explain the meaning of centralization. Centralization means concentration of decision making power or concentration of decision making authority lies with the hands of only one or few members who are at the top level management. So where the centralization relating to concentration of decision making power lies with the hands of only one or few members who are at the top level management. So under centralization, the top level managers, they will going to take all the decisions which are relating to entire working of the organization. So that is why in a centralization the decision making power is to be concentrated over the only one or few members generally at the top level management. So this is about the meaning of centralization and decentralization. On the other hand, decentralization means it is directly opposite to the centralization. Decentralization means dispersal or transferring of decision making power to the lowest ranks in the enterprise, where in centralization the decision making power is to be concentrated with only one or few members in the enterprise. In the case of decentralization, the decision making power is to be distributed or transferred to the lowest ranks in the organization. So that is called decentralization. So that is why there should be an centralization and decentralization in organization based on the level of the organization. So that is the eighth principle, centralization and decentralization. So in a centralization, what happens? In centralization, concentration of decision making power lies with the hands of only one or few members. They are generally at a top level management. In a decentralization, the decision making power is to be distributed to the lowest ranks. That is called decentralization. Based on the level of the organization, based on the size of the enterprise, they must take the decision relating to the centralization and decentralization. The ninth principle, that is scalar chain. So here the scalar chain, which is effectively related to the process of communication in the enterprise, where the scalar chain is like a communication channel which is to be related between various managerial levels in the organization. So that is why there is an management structure in every organization. Like that, based on management structure, we have a communication channel. So like, so you know about the levels of management. There are three levels: top level, middle level and lower level. So how the information is to be flowed means, the manager is going to give information to the B, and the B gives information to D, and D gives information to F. On the other hand, A gives information to C, C gives information to E, E gives information to G. So like this, we have a procedure to flow the communication. So that is the scalar chain. So formal lines of authority that would be from top level management to the lower level management, that link is called scalar chain. Say for example, in the case of emergency matters, here the information is to be comes from top level to middle level to lower level. So which is going to take more time for exchange of information. Then in case of any emergency, for transferring of information between the same rank, we have one method, that is gangplank. So here the gangplank is a shortest route in the scalar chain, so which is to be used for exchanging the information between the same level personnels when in the case of emergency. When in the case of emergency situation, if the managers at same level, if they want to exchange any informations, means at that time they are going to use the shortest route, that is called gangplank. So that is why the gangplank is a shortest communication route which is to be used in the scalar chain. So this is about the ninth principle, that is scalar chain principle. So the scalar chain principle, which is going to related to the system of communication, passing of information and free exchange of information between various managerial levels. Every kind of organization must adopt this scalar chain principle for exchanging of information between various departments and various levels in the organization. So this is about ninth principle, that is scalar chain. Then 10th principle, that is order. So here generally we see that we observe that order means giving instructions or giving a power to work like that. So but as in Henry Fayol principle, order means a proper arrangement. So here as per order principle, there should be a place for everything and there should be a place for everyone, and all the peoples and all the materials should be kept in one place to avoid unnecessary movement in the organization. So that is why order principle states that a place for everything and everyone and everything in a proper place. Say for example, in an organization you have many floors. Say for example, ground floor, first floor, second floor, third floor. So in case of the ground floor, all the employees will come and enter into the office, and in first floor there will be all the kinds of machines are to be installed. In a second floor, the company kept raw materials, and in a third floor we need to store the finished goods in a godown or in a storage house which is located at the third floor. At that time what happens here means, first employee has to come in the company from ground floor, he will get entry into the company, and so he moves to second floor, and again he comes to first floor because of the machines are to be installed in the first floor. After finishing or after converting raw materials into finished product, again he moves to the third floor for storing finished goods. Here the unnecessary movement is to be seen, or unnecessary movement are to be observed in this process. It should be avoided. So for this we are going to make a separate place which are to be required for manufacturing of product. Like in that same place we should have to install the machines, we should have to store the raw materials, and we should have to store the finished product. So then only the unnecessary movements are to be minimized and reduced. That saves the employees effort and that saves the time also. That is why order principle states that there should be a proper place for everything, and everyone and everything must be in a proper place. Then only we can able to ensure the systematic and proper working in the organization. So this is about the 10th principle which is given by Henry Fayol, that is order principle. Then 11th is equity, or it is also called equality. So here as per this principle, all employees and all should be treated equally without any discrimination. So without any discrimination, the manager and entire organizational team, they should be treated equally without making any discrimination among the employees. That is why where the equality principle states that all the employees and the entire organizational team of employees are to be treated equally without making any discrimination. Either they may be at a top level, either they may be at a lower level, or either they may be at any level of the organization. Irrespective of gender, they must treat all the employees equally in the organization. So that is why we must provide equality among, or we must give equality among all the employees. That is about the equality principle. So very simple, equity or equality. So as per this principle, all should be treated equally without any discriminations in the organization. Then only we can able to create a coordination, then only we can able to create the team effort, and we can able to achieve entire organizational goals. This is about the 11th principle, that is equality.